Greetings everyone. I think this video is going to be about well, I don't know what to call it really and truly, but let me start off by well, I need help understanding of a few things, I guess, about myself or things that I've experienced. I already mentioned in a previous video about an event that happened to me in the middle of the night a couple of times, and to my sister as well. And well, this isn't anything like that. This is more along the lines of, I don't know. Well, let me start by saying, I don't think I'm an empath, because I feel that there's a lot more to being an empath than what I might have experienced. But I've always been attuned to other people's emotions. I've always been told that I was a sensitive child, that I feel deeply, that but I've always been aware how other people felt. Maybe it's because as a child my relationship with my stepfather was very bad. He was emotionally abusive towards me, and verbally and emotionally, and maybe that made me a bit more aware of the feelings of other people. But I could always tell if something was upsetting someone, even when they put their best foot forward, or seemed like they were really happy. Also, a lot of the times I get perfect strangers who don't know me, and for whatever strange twist of events, we're talking, whether we're just online waiting for something, or I've even had temping. People just tell me stuff about themselves. I mean, personal things that I wouldn't tell anyone I don't know, but they would tell me personal things about themselves, and then ultimately looking for advice from me, who they just met. I've always had that with my friends, all friends. I've always been like their counselor. I don't know how that happens. I've had a friend tell me that it's because I open myself up to it. I give off this attitude that I'm here for you, or I'm listening, and so that's why people seem to come up to me and just tell me stuff. But I've also had times when I've had feelings, like I physically would feel like my muscles would tighten in my body, my stomach muscles would tighten, or feel almost fluttery at times, and I knew something was wrong or something bad was going to happen, but I never knew what. I never knew to who. Once I knew to who, the only time, she was my best friend at the time in high school, and I had this overwhelming sense that I needed to reach her. I tried calling her, paging her, nothing. Later that evening, and I tried all day, could not get her. Later that evening, she called me, and she sounded like her normal self, and she was, seemed happy enough, and I just, what happened? And she was like, what are you talking about? I said, what happened? I know something happened, you can tell me. And she said, I don't know what you're saying. I said, no, I know something happened. What happened? And then she just broke down. I started crying and was hysterical, and was telling me how a friend of her raped her. He basically got her to come over because he had borrowed a CD from her and said, come over and get it, and and he attacked her. I tried to convince her to go to the police, go to the hospital. She wouldn't do it. And this was the second time she was raped in her life. And she wouldn't do it. I did what I could to at least talk to her or try to get her to understand this wasn't her fault and things like that. But we were in high school, so who am I? You know, I'm not a psychiatrist. I don't know how to handle that kind of thing. But she was the only time that I knew who I had to deal with. In college, I was away at college for 2 years, and there was this one night, mousetrap went off, scared me. Anyway, yeah, there was this one night where we were practicing for a show we were putting on for our parents, for parents' night. So we were practicing a dance routine, and the choreographer, he was psychic, and a few people just simply was like, whatever. So he started, you know, just talking to us, and he would turn to each of us and he would tell us something that was like, wow, how did you know that? One girl, he looked at her and he said, I see your mother, and there's a room in the house that she's always in, she's always praying in. I see prayer hands. And she's like, well, I mean, he was kind of off and then kind of not off with that. The girl didn't think she was necessarily always in that room, but yes, there were these prayer hands they had, and she did pray in front of them from time to time. And another girl, he described to her, she came from Hawaii, and he described to her, 'cause at the time we didn't know she came from Hawaii until she said it after the fact, but he described to her the block she lived on, what it looked like and everything. Then he turned to me and he said, you see like I see. I said, what? What? No, I'm not psychic. And he's like, yeah, you see like I see. And then I was like, well, and I told him about, you know, having these feelings from time to time and all that. And I said, but I haven't really been experiencing that. And he basically said it was things that were going on in my life that was blocking it because I was under stresses and pressures and things like that, and those were interfering with it. And then he proceeded to tell me about this guy who I was dating. And he's like, I see you, you're always behind him, you know, like I don't see y'all side by side, I see y'all behind him. And I don't know if he meant that in terms of the dynamics of our relationship, but at the time what I saw it as is that whenever he was over there and we're in my room and we'll be on my bed and we're watching TV or whatever, and I always used to like to lean on his back with my arms around him. So I'd have my, you know, my head on his shoulder, and I was always behind him. So that's how I interpreted it. But that night, because after that we started, you know, just chit-chatting for a while and everything, and then all of a sudden I started feeling that familiar muscle tightening, and it was very mild though. It wasn't like the normal strength that I felt it. So I was like, I don't know, I think something. I didn't say anything to anyone, but as the evening progressed, I felt it more and more. And as we broke from our practice and everybody was going in separate ways, and we were practicing in my dorm, so I just had to go upstairs, and my friend was with me, and you know what? I'm gonna have to start another video because this is going on 10 minutes. So stay tuned for part 2.